Hell yeah. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the sports betting live stream here. Land your bets, joined by my guy, Monotone Football. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Anytime we have playoff basketball still going, I'm in a pretty good mood. So obviously
Yep.
two good games today, two important games today, some rivalry action between some East Coast teams. Definitely going to be a good night of basketball. That's for sure.
Yep. And I mean, we're gonna start with that. I guess it's technically Central Time. Where we're in Indiana, so it's probably still Eastern. But we're gonna kick it off with that game. It's 6:30 p.m. start for everybody. So in an hour from now, gonna already have that basketball action starting. We got people in the comments already. Good to see y'all. We got G-Bag in here and MB8. A lot of the usuals, a lot of the squad from the Discord. So happy to have you guys. And then obviously one of the greats, Isaac Ballsack, in here as well. What's good, fam? Give his name a little love. I'm gonna definitely get some monotone bets here as I start pulling up some of my stuff as well, and then kind of kick it off, like I said, with that Milwaukee, an Indy game back in Indy. See if they can close it out. But how are you feeling about that game overall, real quick, man? Do you have some plays for that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The Dame news has kind of been hanging over our head all day long. Finally announced, it's looking like he's playing tonight. So I don't know if you expected that. Personally, I didn't. I was kind of caught off guard by that a little bit. I mean, obviously knew it was in the equation. Giannis is still technically questionable, but I think we can all pretty comfortably assume he's not going to play tonight. So like a couple of guys I was looking at, like a Patrick Beverly, right, who just played a ton of minutes, someone that I thought could maybe be super beneficial today, is now someone I'm not looking at anymore, right? With the Dame news, probably not going to play, 39 or so minutes and stuff. So I don't know how that's affected your process today, but it definitely threw me off a little bit with his lines just coming out about like 5 minutes ago, something like that.
Yep, 100%. No, the only reason it didn't throw me off is because when I was making the video last night, the episode that has some of the bets that I'm putting up right now that'll be on the bottom line, that I was like, I didn't take a single Bucks player. I was just like, the only thing to do here is get ahead of one of or both of these dudes playing and take unders. You know what I mean? Like that was pretty much all I felt comfortable with at like last night and even this morning up until this news. And now we've got it. And I think it would have been really smart to play something like a Bobby Portis under on like points and rebounds and assists. I think everything goes down. I mean, the thing that I noticed with Bobby Portis is that his usage when Dame was in and healthy, right before Dame got hurt and still played in that game. I think it was game 3, and then he just missed the last 2. But before that, he like with Dame and Chris and Bobby Portis on the floor at the same time, like Dame was still taking every damn shot. You know what I mean? And he still had a usage rate up above like 33% in that range. So Bobby didn't really have many shots available to him when a lot of them are getting chucked up like that. Same for Pat Bev, who's just not going to have the ball in his hands unless they blitz Dame, which I can't even really feel like I can predict that just because I don't really know how healthy Dame is. Like how much of a decoy is he going to be versus somebody that they're actually going to rely upon. So I'm not really comfortable at this point. We got to see what's up. I'm going to start sharing my screen in a minute. We can take a look at what these lines look like if they're coming up. Do you have that stuff in front of you by chance?
Yeah, I'm starting to see like DraftKings is trickling in lines right now. So I see Bobby Portis, who you're just talking about, is now down to 18.5 points.
Yep.
Which, clearly makes sense. And I did see, it looks like it's gone now. I saw it for a second there. Lillard was at 23.5. I don't currently see it up. So it looks like they got bet off the board instantly. Obviously, with lines just coming out, that happens. But for people in the chat, definitely update us with whatever books you guys see trickling out right now, because obviously that's going to kind of, hit us instantly. But I think Dame lines are going to be very interesting. And to me, like you said, with the health stuff, is he going to be blitzed aggressively? Like I have a hard time seeing myself playing overs on Dame personally. I think it's kind of an under or bust situation, which I know is not what people want to be hearing in the playoffs, right? Not necessarily,
100%.
But for me personally, at least, I think it's probably going to be more under looks for Dame in this game.
Yeah. I don't have the cojones to just like assume that someone's going to come out and just play out of their mind right away like that. So let me see real quick. I'm going to throw out some of the stuff I have because it's floating on the bottom line here as I get it up. I'm putting up the bets I see in the comments too. And obviously if you have something that you don't see up, Monotone, then just let me know. We'll get into that. But I'm going to go quickly through what I put up last night for you guys as I pull that up here correctly. So I've got This is one of my favorites. I believe Ben Sheppard is up at 4.5 points now. Obviously, I'm cutting this off a little bit, but the Ben Sheppard look here at 3.5 when it came out. I know Buddy Irons was in it, a really quality member of the Discord. Buddy's always putting in good plays. Ben Sheppard, it was just about minutes. I was on popcornmachine.net. And just looking at when Ben Sheppard started coming in, and you can kind of see, if you're looking at it, that he came in at the 6-minute mark in the last 2 games in the first quarter. So he's like legit backup guard minutes, and it doesn't really look like TJ McConnell is going to continue to get the leash to just keep taking shots that he's been missing, because he's had a really rough series offensively. I already took the Bucks plus 8.5 just on the assumption that even if neither of those dudes played, now we know Dame's in, but before I knew that, I was like, one of them's in, great. Both of them, amazing. Neither of them, I'm still okay with plus 8.5. That's kind of how I played this one anyway. And then just the last couple, this one still feels really fishy, man. I mean, everybody loves Obi and everybody wants to bet overs on Obi Toppin, but like the numbers for him against this team, I just couldn't really get away from it. Like he had one bad game in the last 10 against this team. They played 10 times. The first game he got like 9 minutes or 13 minutes, whatever. And then the next 9 games, including these playoffs, which was enough of a sample size for me to go, this is all consistent. Like Obi's doing everything the same in the regular season and in the postseason when he gets 18 to 20 minutes. If he gets 18 to 20, he's good to go. And he hasn't in a couple still got this bet, but I'm still banking on him playing that amount and just Carlisle being like, okay, he's in. And last one, regardless of what happened with the Bucks, was Pascal under. I took under 22.5 points for him. The cute little graphic I have for that is that basically the first couple games, Brook Lopez guarded him, and that was just barbecue chicken, because as good of a help side defender as Brook is, he's not a one-on-one defender for a dude that can play out on the perimeter. Pascal shot 50% from deep with Brook guarding him because he can't get all the way out there, 67% from the field overall. And then you see everything drop because, and this is what I was talking about in my video last night real quick, Bobby Portis, we don't remember because now we love to watch Bobby Portis shoot mid-range shots and score 25 points when Giannis is out, and we can all bet on that. But Bobby Portis used to be an enforcer. He was the dude on the Bulls who punched his own teammate. He was the dude on the Knicks who made them nasty for a little bit, even when they were still absolutely just ass for a while with him. And so, yeah, at this point, he's the reason that Pascal has slowed down. That defense has been awesome. Somebody in the chat mentioned that as well, which was something I said in my video last night. So all 4 of those bets are scrolling on the bottom line. Can I get one from you real quick? And I'll share my screen while you're talking too.
Yeah, no, I mean, funnily enough, I'm on Ben Sheppard as well. That's another one that I like. I played over 1.5 threes at plus 180. I also like the 4.5, points, I guess, that it's moved to now. 3.5 was obviously a very good look right there. But I think in general, you kind of covered a lot of it. But this is a guy that he didn't get the regular season opportunity. So maybe a lot of people aren't as familiar with him, but I mean, he's kind of like the perfect kind of playoff young player you want, in the sense that he's not a liability on defense. He's a dog on both sides of the floor. He's got a reliable shot that they can count on. Look at his competition, a guy like TJ, a guy like Nembhard. They do provide things, but if you need that offensive spark, if you need someone to knock down a catch and shoot 3, none of those guys are your guy. Neither is Obi Toppin, someone that's providing a burst off the bench right now of transition scoring, showing off his athleticism. None of these guys really fill that kind of floor stretching void. And while Miles Turner is doing a good job anchoring it as the center position, it's been clear Sheppard has a good role. And I think last game, like you said, seeing him sub in so early, I think that's kind of what did it for me. It's like, oh, this isn't just like an auxiliary player. This is someone that they have trust in. He is part of the plan in this game, and he's been knocking him down, full confidence out there. So Sheppard, seen it at plus 180. I have a couple different threes in this one. Most of my bets are for the later game because of the Dame news, but Sheppard was one I locked in early, and I love the opportunity at that plus money price tag.
Yep. Exactly all my thoughts as well. And I mean, the thing that would scare me about it is that he's shooting 69% from the floor. Nice. I definitely want to get that off and mention that, but also 62% from deep. And it's about 4 shots. That's what it's about. Is he taking 4 shots, which he has averaged when he gets those amount of minutes, right? When he gets up around 20 minutes, which he has now in all of the last of the 4 of these games. So I'm gonna go ahead and pin Ben Sheppard on you as well. We'll take it at 4.5. I mean, I would still take it right at that number. I felt really good about 3.5, obviously 2 buckets, maybe a 3 and a free throw, because he's gotten there a time and a half now throughout this series. So I think Ben Sheppard is a good look. He's on the bottom line now for both of us. There was a couple looks as well from people. I didn't know if you have any thoughts on a couple of these that I'm putting in here. So Miles Turner, someone that everybody wants to talk about, as well as there was one more that I kept seeing pop up. Now, he's basically the main one right now. We can talk about a couple other guys, but any quick thoughts on Miles Turner or anything that you had for him? I've never bet on that dude, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think the lines kind of caught up. I think earlier in the series, when you were looking at a little bit more value, I think that's one thing. But now 20.5, 19.5 kind of across the board in the points department. He's not ever been an aggressive rebounder one. So for me, PRA is never even something I'm really looking at, right? It's normally either kind of the points or the 3-point attempts. And I think the sports books have kind of caught up right here. It's not that I don't think he's going to have some opportunity because – I mean, to be quite honest, there's opportunity to go around. Like if they're going to force other people on this team to score, someone's got to step up. It's just for me, Turner's never kind of fit that high profile volume. When I bet on a guy to score 20 points, I want them to be able to get there in multiple different ways. If you're 3-pointers and falling, maybe let's get to the free throw line. Let's see how that mid-range is. Turner doesn't really have a lot of that. I think his, light up games are a circumstance, not necessarily something we can predict as much. So definitely kind of a pass for me on Miles Turner today.
110% on that. I want to pull up Props Madness for a minute because one thing I'm trying to look at now, and one theory that I had that I haven't really done a good job of proving yet, is that Miles Turner versus teams that will slow this team down might actually do better than when he gets sped up because of the center, the idea that he's a center. I'm wondering if on Props Madness you can do, I don't think, he doesn't have pace yet as something that you can do. Like if you can look at how well someone performs against a team based on top 10 in pace or top 20 in pace or something like that, there's definitely, there's probably a tool that I would have to pay for to get that. But that's something that I would be interested in if there's like a correlation between Miles Turner points, which are now at 20.5, which is kind of cuckoo bananas to me, for a dude that averaged like 17 on the season and then just had like a bunch of good games. Like now I'm really starting to talk myself into the under for him more than anything as I keep going into it, because just on the season as a whole, for instance, like 17.4 points per game. And I don't know that there's much, there's really nobody missing, obviously, from this Pacers team at this point that you can go, well, without this guy or with this guy. How many has he been playing in the playoffs real quick? He's up to, so he's 35 minutes, which is nicely above what he played on the season. And then he has 3 big games. I'm assuming those, the 29-point games were based on hitting a lot of threes. You can see in the playoffs, he's still not getting free throw attempt. Well, 6 in 3 games, but then 1 in 0. And this just comes down to like, this is DeAndre Ayton with the ability to shoot threes and probably not as good around the mid-range. So he's basically just if DeAndre Ayton shot threes instead of foul shots, right? Because neither of them get to the line. He's Vucevic. There you go. That's a much better comp, right? And maybe a worse rebounder than Vuce just because he's standing at the top of the key. Like if I just pull that up one more time just to prove the point, like 29% of this center who plays center, his shots are coming from above the break threes, right? So that's not something that I want to trust either for him. I don't know that he necessarily gets impacted by like a Dame Lillard being in or anything like that. So I'm going to be honest, like as much as I want to like just make this about the people and look at every bet that everybody wants to look at, I rarely have something for Miles Turner. I'm rarely going to have something for like even steals and blocks are not a big go-to for me either. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. Is there anything else that you did play from the Pacers Bucks game?
Not yet, but when Middleton lines drop, that'll be something I'm looking at. Like I said, okay, let's see it. Pickett says 21.5 is on FanDuel right now. I like that. That's a buy price for me, even if it's just a half unit here, because even if we are assuming Dame is fully healthy, right, when we just know how the Pacers play and what they're looking to do, right, they're trying to limit these 3-point attempts. All year long, guys that have that like mid-range shot profile are the guys that have excelled against the Pacers. It's not been the outside shooter. So in general, I think this series kind of, points us more towards Middleton and his scoring profile. In addition to that, he's been super clutch these last couple of games. He's obviously been forced into a position. It's not necessarily one he wanted to be in, but I don't think Dame's going to be fully healthy right here. It's very hard for me to imagine we're working at 100%. I think it's more, you got to do what you got to do. It's the playoffs. So if we can get, like a little discount on Middleton here, then I do think that's probably going to be worth the price.
So this is what I've got up right now is on props.cash is Chris Middleton without Giannis and with Dame this season, which obviously this season is the only time he's going to have those splits. So overall here, including a bunch of games in the regular season, 4 of 9, 19 points, right? At the same time, now if I just make this the regular season, it's 2 out of 5 here. But what I want to know is, or 2 out of 6 rather, and averaging 16 points at 27 minutes. This was kind of the point that I wanted to make, is like Middleton without Giannis with Dame has only been during a regular season where they limited his minutes tremendously, right? Like he only played 33 and a half once. He got over 30 in the last 3 as they started to get his minutes back up towards the end of the season. But for the most part, like this is all skewed by the fact that he wasn't getting minutes at that time. So in the last 4 here, he started to get a few more minutes, up to 25, 32, 33, 31. And like now we're talking about him going over in 2 of those 4 for the points, but butting up right against it and still not really playing quite like playoff basketball, shorter rotations, more minutes because it's all hands on deck or the season's over, right? So I think you project him a lot closer to 38, 37. Like maybe he can get a few more breathers than when he was playing 42 recently because of the fact that Dame is in and there's somebody that you trust in with the offense. But I mean, that seems like a fair minutes projection, right? Like 38 or so for him.
Yeah, I have a hard time not seeing 40, even with Dame back. I mean, still, you know, it's when you look at these 40s, it's also in games that were blowouts, right? I mean, if we can assume this is going to be less of a blowout, you know, then we're going to pick up a couple minutes there where we might lose him with Dame. So I'm very comfortable in that like 40 minutes range. Yeah. And I just think like I get that it's a high number for Middleton in general, and if you look at the hit rates and stuff like that, but I do think it's just so different in the playoffs, right? It's so, I mean, you look at the guys surrounding this team and you think like, are we going to put our season's hands in the Patrick Beverleys and the Brook Lopez, you know, shooting the 40-foot threes? Like probably not, right? This is the time of the year where the guys have to take over in the biggest moments. And I mean, the Bucks, no one expected them to have their backs against the wall right here, but I think it's going to be the Lillard and Middleton show. It's just kind of, can Lillard actually, you know, kind of stay up to what he's done before injury?
Yep, 100%, because you're going to need that from him. I had someone I just want to bring up too, talking about the over for the team total for the Pacers. Aramis, what's good, man? Talking about the Pacers team total over, which I believe is still 110.5 or so. This total is at 216.5, and they're 6-point favorites, right? So yeah, about 110 to 104 or so, around there, maybe 111 now at this point. Maybe that prop actually probably going up for the Bucks now, right? Yeah, so it's probably like about 110, 105 in that range. Whatever. Point being, it's about 110.5. I think you might as well just take the game over. I think the Milwaukee team total, even before Dame was listed in, was a good look in and of itself at about 103.5 was what it opened at. So I still think that's a pretty good look. I talked about that in one of a different video that I made for thelines.com. So I wanted to at least touch on that one real quick. But yeah, I think to just continue the point that the Monotone was making a second ago, I like the Middleton at 21.5. I think that's great. I kind of wish I would have taken under 26.5 when he before Dame was ruled in, but that was the gamble, and I didn't want to make that gamble right now. Had a couple good days in a row and was like, don't really need to just kind of hand this back, right? So still looking for the things we feel comfortable with. I'd want to add, I'm sorry, real quick. You'll see on the bottom line, I added 2 Knicks bets, and we're going to get to that game in a minute. But because this is such an early tip for the Pacers, I want to finish up that game. I took Brunson over on the rebounds and assists, and I couldn't help but it was 11.5. So it dropped 1 from last game where it was 12.5. Been consistently at like 13 or 12.5. So I like the 11.5 number only because he went under last game, which was kind of an anomaly. He still had a ton of potential assists, still had a ton of rebound chances. So I still went for the RA for Brunson, and I couldn't get away from over 2.5 boards for Deuce McBride at plus 145. Like I have his floor at 28 minutes, so I just had to get him in there, to be honest with you. But are you saying you're going to bet Middleton yet, or that's still just like a lean as you want to probably look into that for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lean. There's not that much time, I guess, at this point to think about it. But I'll probably play a half unit on 21.5. That's the plan right now. It's minus 120 on FanDuel, so a little juicier than normal, but still I think a good look.
Yep, I think so too. I'm going to put it on here for us real quick, and because I think you still get pretty good money on that for Middleton 21.5. Yeah, minus 105 as it's coming back out. 104 on Caesars if you have it. So that's a good look right there. I'll put minus 104 on Caesar, and I think the half unit is a good play here if you're going to do something like this. What about an under for Bobby Poe on the points? I do wonder if there's anything to that. Any thoughts on that as I pull it up and try to look into that a little bit on props.cash?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still don't hate it I don't know. I don't hate the over, but I think the number didn't adjust enough. Like if they dropped it to like 16.5, I'd probably play the over. But I think like 18.5 is kind of like a fair number. That's what I see on DraftKings right now, 18.5 on both sides. And I like Bobby Portis, but I don't know if I can really trust him in this situation. I mean, it's obviously going to be him and Lopez down there. Lopez hasn't had one of those like 4 or 5 3-point games yet this series. I'm not saying it's going to happen here, but always something you're looking out for. Same in this next game with like DiVincenzo, a guy that hasn't necessarily popped off yet, but you always know that that's in the tank and it's a possibility. So for me personally, I did stay off Portis in this one. I know a couple guys had the over before the injury news, but I don't think the number has shifted enough for me to make a bet here personally.
Yep, I'm with that. Yeah, I'm on the same page with Bobby Poe, except for I think I like the under because it only dropped 1 point. I'm looking at the season right now with Dame without Giannis. And obviously with Giannis out, his minutes do go up. And this is at now 31, including this 44 minutes last game, but or 2 games ago now. But that still is about even for his average here, about 31 minutes. Now, I think you still probably put him up more, right? Without Giannis at this point, you probably get him closer to 40 for basically for the starters at this point with 1 game to go if they lose. So if that's the case, and he's at 15.5 shots, I still with the way he's been shooting, if it's anything close to that, I mean, in the playoffs right here, you can see 6 of 9 and then 7 of 15, 6 of 16, 7 of 15, all bad. It's taking about 15, 16 shots. I mean, he's still taking all mid-range stuff, so I don't really see him hitting 50% of his shots necessarily. I think that would be about his ceiling, honestly. So that puts us at 8 made field goals, which is that 16 points. Barely shooting threes as well. Only about 3 or 4 attempts, especially against this Pacers squad. So I still like the under at 22.5 on Caesars, to be honest. I'm going to take that because I just don't think it's been adjusted enough. It was 23.5, right? And then Dame gets ruled in. And like I was saying when we started the show a second ago, as soon as when I've seen Dame play with Bobby Portis, he's still just taking all these shots. Now, maybe you don't think he takes quite as many, but I still just think those go to Chris Middleton, and I would rather have an over on Middleton points. I don't think you can take an over on both of them. And since I like that better and we've got Middleton on the board here, I'm going to add Bobby Portis to the under at the points. I think, what are the rebounds out now for Bobby? 11.5. I still prefer an under there, to be honest with you. But I can understand staying away from that entirely, for real. Have you played much Aaron Nesmith as I put Bobby Poe up here?
No, absolutely not. That's why I actually like Sheppard. I think there's opportunity. Anytime I see a guard group that's kind of weaker on the surface, I know Nesmith provides good utility on defense, but he's just inconsistent. His offensive game doesn't offer much, streaky spot up shooting. There's not much high level passing going on, creating for others. Nesmith, to me, he's a solid playoff rotational piece, but not someone I'm looking to target because I want guys in the playoffs that we're drawing up plays for. I want guys that are important parts of the playbook. And for me, Nesmith is going to get what he takes. That's going to be his role in this game.
He's going to take what he gets, 100%. It's kind of honestly, man, put baby in the corner. Just go stand over there and we'll tell you when we need you, dog. It's all good. I think people have been looking at under points, under assists, but it's down to 1.5. There was a game where it was 2.5 and it was yeah, great. Give me the under on Nesmith assists. Because to your point, he barely has the ball in his hands enough to make these assist plays. And when he does, he's usually driving. It's not somebody I really feel like is a distributor of any kind. So, yeah. So real quick, someone's asked me about Dame. We'll get to Dame in a sec. I think we're both just I can't play anything over for Dame. If I played any but at the same time, what keeps me from playing it at all is he could take 24 shots. He could take 16 shots. I don't fully know, and I don't really want to have to guess as he's been out for so long. So, yeah, if you can get Nesmith under 13.5 points, that's the look that NBA is bringing in the chat. I don't have enough to really fully comprehend the times he's shot. I guess if I was going to say going under made sense. I don't know what this 27 minutes is about. I have to look deeper into that. But the shot attempts at, let's see, if we average it out to 9 and he's got to get 13 points or 14 points. Yeah, I definitely prefer the under. Still taking a good amount of threes. It depends on where the pressure of the defense gets outletted. And if you think Ben Sheppard's coming in to take a few of those minutes from him as a shooter on the spot up, then yeah, I think you go under for Nesmith points. I don't feel like I have enough of a read on the dude. I mean, I'm starting to actually like under 13.5 the more I think about it with him, to be honest, to all the points we've made. But on the season, averaging 12 in 28 minutes. And yeah, his minutes are tough for me to project, I guess, is really what I'm coming down to. I only need like 20 minutes from Ben Sheppard, which I feel like I'm going to get to feel good about an over for him. So I'm kind of good on that. Any thoughts on Halle Baby over here, Haliburton, and his just up and downness that I can't project?
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw one of our smart friends put his prop out while we were on the show. It's like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with the over personally. Like, I think the idea last game was like, let's make Halle a scorer and see if that can work, and it didn't really work. And I think that's a good defensive game plan. But you also have to remember the context of 39 minutes of like Patrick Beverley and aggressive on-ball defense. They actually can't do that anymore. You have Dame back. Like, you actually can't possibly play him the same way you played him last game. So to me, that kind of opens things up. Maybe he does become a little bit more of a scorer then if we have a little easier one-on-one option, or he can obviously switch onto Dame, kind of try to hunt that a little bit more. I guess that opens up the over. But personally for me, this whole series, it's kind of been like, I hate to be the bummer again, but like an under or bust, because if you make Halle a scorer, I don't really want to see that. I don't know if we know how that's going to work out fully. I'd much rather him, try to get 14 assists, but that style of basketball does not work in the postseason as much. You can't just run in transition. So for me, like, I see why you'd bet the points over, just because I think he's going to have to score. The defense is going to give him those looks, but I personally don't feel super comfortable, at what is it, 18.5 right now to pull the trigger on the over.
18.5. If anything, I like an under on the PRA, to be honest. Something he's done in 4 of 5 in this series. And the unders for him, like one of the things too about taking unders for Tyrese Haliburton, Rick Carlisle is just going to play 9 dudes no matter what. Rick Carlisle is not going to trim his rotations to only to 6 or 7 dudes who are all going to play 30 plus to 40 plus minutes. That's just not what he does, as we've seen now with Haliburton's minutes in this series at 37 per game with 146 minute, which was a double overtime game. Right. So I think you still keep him at 37 minutes. And in 37 minutes, he's gone under on all 4 of those games that he's played on 37 or less. Right. And part of that is like the weird low potential assist number. I mean, I do want to give credit to the Bucks. Like, they have looked a lot better limiting fast break points, limiting the pace to what they want it to be at 92. Whereas with Haliburton, he wants it to be at 102. Right. So this is a big win for the Bucks so far in this series. I don't know why that would stop. He hasn't looked like himself. So I'm kind of on the under PRA right now. He's at home. So maybe there's a little bit more to being incited by the crowd, like he has been when they've been better at home with the points and everything. But if you're playing Haliburton here, I'm playing under on the points, rebounds, and assists. And I think the threes are something that somebody was talking about too. I guess 3 threes is a low number for him if he's been shooting a few more of them. Yeah, in the last 3 games, he's back up to about 10 a game, 11 a game, right, in these last 2, almost 12. So that makes sense if you wanted to take the threes, but nothing else that he's doing down low. They haven't really gotten anything. Their points in the paint this series are at 43 per game, where they're at they led the league with about 58 or so points in the paint during the regular season. So they're not getting easy, which means Haliburton has to hit those threes. Half is not anything I'm going to take at that level, that juice of minus 150. I'm completely off of that. But I think an under on the PRA for Haliburton is a better play, despite the fact that I do like the over for the game. I don't know if you had any thoughts on the total real quick with Dame in. I mean, it's still tough to gauge him, but it's 216.5 now, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm such a non-believer in the Pacers defense that I would lean over as well. I just think it's a hard call when who do we trust to take over the game and kind of set the pace of it could be a number of guys obviously, but I didn't bet the total, but I would probably lean over just because like I said I'm so low in this Pacers defense just in general as a playoff team.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I still think the over is a pretty good player. I think I've made this number right about 219, 220 without Dame and Chris in there, or Giannis. And Giannis is officially ruled out. I believe NBA put that in the chat, which I appreciate, dude. So now we know for sure it's Giannis out and Dame in moving forward, which, like we said, who knows how healthy they are. But we've got the stuff rolling on the bottom line for what we've played so far. We're definitely passing on Nesmith here. I'll just make that clear. He's taking him off. For Hallie, I'm gonna play an under on Haliburton at 33.5. Like if Pat Bev is also able to just solely focus on that and a lot less on even needing to do anything on offense, then I'm super happy with that. Like, and by the way, that was 12 assists for Pat Bev last game. Completely hilarious. I hope no one's like, whoa, he went over. I'm gonna keep betting overs for Pat Bev assists. But anything else? I know I've asked you that a bunch of times, but I'm gonna put that bet up for me for under Haliburton PRA. We don't have much else rolling in. We've got Malik Beasley in here still at 12.5 points. His stuff hasn't dropped with Dame back in there. I don't know if you had any looks about him or like Nembhard or anybody like that.
What's Beasley at again? Can you put it back over?
He's at 12.5.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the under there. I mean, to be honest, like, because it's like you can't play all these guys at the same time. So if you're playing more Dame, you're gonna have Beverly, I guess, in a little bit more limited minutes, but as more of the 2-guard defender, you can't run Dame, Beverly, Beasley. Like, you can't triple small guard lineup in the playoffs. So someone's got to get the short end of the stick. And it's really kind of depends on how this game script is going, right? If you think that this team's going to be losing, then you probably need Beasley to give you that little, enthusiasm, right? You need him off the bench to give you that scoring. But if they're winning, if it's a close game, then I could really see Beverly out there just hounding on defense all game. So this one's kind of game script dependent, but I would lean under on Beasley just because I think we're going to see a little bit of regression right here. And I just don't think his role is that guaranteed. And if we get by any chance AJ Green lines, I bet his under last game, I would just hammer the hell out of those. If there's any chance, if anyone sees him in chat or anything, that would be dope because that's an easy under right there.
That is the call for Monotone is if you see AJ Green, please let me know. I can't imagine we are going to see that. I've got FanDuel up right now. I'll go directly to DraftKings as well. But the reason I would say we won't is like if I'm a bookmaker right now and I'm scrambling to put up lines for this game after the Dame news, I don't know that they're going to have time to get to AJ Green. And I think we'll have to see him in the game to get a live line for him. The only thing that would scare me about a live line is obviously a blowout means probably some more AJ Green minutes towards the end of the game, right? Which is something that you would preferably play an over live at that point if you see the game going out of control. But yeah, we still have mostly Indy and the starters up for Milwaukee.
Yeah,
we got Haliburton at 17.5 points in this one on FanDuel right now. So, or excuse me, DraftKings, which it was 18.5. So it seems like the under is where it's juiced down. They're trying to say the over is a lot less likely to happen here with these odds, right? More of like a 50-50 shot for the over there on his points. So yeah, I think the points is still something you stay away from Hallie. I want to make sure I hit up on this. I guess we got to talk about Maxey in a minute, but I did hit top end over points, like I said, and I think Turner, if you're talking about under 9.5, is it boards for 9.5, or is that supposed to be 19.5 points for Turner? Because I lean under 20.5 points for sure. I'm not going over on a Miles Turner, despite how many shots he's taken. The rebounds are 8.5. Yeah, maybe 9.5 on BetMGM there. Might still get a 9.5 for the rebounds, but yeah, I mean with the rebound chances for dude, actually, we'll look at that real quick. Just 'cause it might be a good under. At about 12, I think that's a fair number of rebound chances. Obviously, the Bucks hit most of their shots last game, so you only got 5 boards. I would go under 9.5, though, before I went over. If that's still hanging around, which I don't know if it is, but just to answer that question. And then Maxey points, I'm not going to tell you not to hit Maxey at all. Let's jump into that game. If anybody has anything for this, we can come back on Indy and Milwaukee. But honestly, I had an easier time breaking down Indy and Milwaukee than I did New York and Philly for player props. And there's a couple of reasons that I'll just kick it off with. So I did take, let's scrolling on the bottom there, like what I said, I did take Deuce McBride over 2.5 boards for half a unit at it was plus 145. Now, I just think he's going to play enough minutes to get it. And I played Jalen Brunson on the rebound and assists because I think we got a nice, we got that line lowered to 11.5 after it had been consistently 12.5. He's consistently going over 11.5 and 12.5 in this series. He did the first 4 games, and he had more rebound chances and potential assists in this last game that he went under on the rebounds and assist prop, right, than he did in the previous 4, like 15 potential assists. The Knicks just didn't make shots on his passes. So I think it's a really good buy low spot for Jalen Brunson on the rebounds and assists. And then those are the only 2 that I could really get next to. And just to finish the points of why like I'm stuck on this, I'll start with Mitch Robin, Hartenstein. like, I think Mitch Rob is going to play more minutes because he's a much better defender on Embiid, and he seems to be healthy enough to keep doing that. But I don't know for sure. Like, and even if he gets a little bit hurt at all, or Hartenstein doesn't get into foul trouble for the first time, which probably isn't likely. But even if he doesn't, now maybe he does get some more minutes. The only other thing, real quick, Kyle Lowry, he got into foul trouble. I think he's still good for some overs. I think he's still got some pretty valuable props. But like, once it's between him, a little bit of campaign, but then Nick Batum, and that's where people are asking me about Nick Batum a lot, and I'm going, I just don't know that he's going to get 30 minutes again. I know you want to believe that he is because he just did in this last game for Nick Batum, and the rebound seems juicy because we all see so much green for his recent numbers, and I get that. But like, if I look at the minutes, I guess he's had pretty consistent minutes. The 33 felt a little bit more like Kyle Lowry can't play because of the foul, so he's getting there. But you see what I'm saying? There's a little bit of interchangeability. Last one is Miles Bride and DiVincenzo. Like, if DiVincenzo comes out and starts hitting, maybe he stays in the game now and doesn't play the 25, 26 minutes he's been seeing recently and stays up at the 35, 36 minutes that we kind of all expected him to get, which he was getting at first, right? So you see what I'm saying? Like, there's just so much like up in the air about minutes, and if one dude's hot early, then he's the one that they're going to keep in the game kind of stuff. I don't know what to necessarily do with that. Can you help me with this next game at all?
No, I think you nailed a lot of that, though. Especially like the center rotation for me, like that was a stay away. Like Robinson, even if you do project, my thing with Mitchell Robinson, even if you do project more minutes for him, what stat category can you actually project to benefit besides fouls? That's the only thing we know with Robinson will go up with more minutes is fouls. So even if you do expect him to play more minutes, he's a guy that could be a completely valuable player, have an awesome performance. And in the stat sheet, you see 5 and 5 with 4 fouls and 2 blocks, you know? So for me, like the center rotation was kind of a pass right there. You were against Batum. I'll go right into it. I like Batum. I like both his rebounds and I like the threes ladder. You can get 2 threes at 165.
You were on him in that playing game for the threes.
I was. Exactly.
Game. Yep.
Yeah, that was a huge one, obviously, for me. That's what's made this playoffs a little bit better right here. But for me, really the biggest thing, I mean, look at that isolation defense on Brunson to close the game last game. Like, there's no way you don't see that guy 2 one-on-one possessions, one with a game-saving block. Like, you don't see that and go like, this guy has no spot in this rotation. You know what I mean? Like, it's a safe floor of 23-ish, 24 minutes, but I have a really hard time not seeing him in that 28 to 31 minute range. Yeah. And when you look at his offensive production, like, I like the rebounding just because I think his defensive positioning is going to lead to a lot of rebounds. Brunson's going to switch off him. We don't want that smoke. Brunson's going to be blitzed all game, so I like your rebounds and assists look a lot actually right there in that one. But on the other side, Embiid, I just got him switched right there. Embiid's going to be, as we know, doubled all game long. We saw in his worst offensive performance last game, he was still doubled mercilessly all game long. So all these 3-point opportunities we have are going to be wide open. Like, it's let Batum shoot. That is perfectly fine with everyone. So for me, I think he's a super intriguing. It's the exact opposite of Mitchell Robinson, where I project him for more minutes, but what stat categories can we actually apply that to? For a guy like Batum, it's really obvious. He's going to be switched on defense. He's going to be in solid help side block and rebounding positions. And on offense, he's going to be a connector and take wide open threes. So for me, I think a guy like that is just immensely valuable in the playoffs and someone I want to bet on.
I think you're right, and I'm gonna use a couple of things to support what you're saying here for Batum, and I support the rebounds a lot. But the thing about Batum, real quick. So last game, 6 minutes that he spent guarding Jalen Brunson, and honestly, Kelly Oubre has not been good, but for like one game this series, and he was the one predominantly guarding Brunson. But the two of them as like a back-to-backer, like you never get a break for Brunson when you have two dudes that good and that much bigger, when they're both guarding him back-to-back like that. So I'm inside the box score of the last game, just for those who don't know how to use the tool necessarily, and you can change traditional look to the matchups look and see exactly who was guarding who for what amount of time and all that kind of stuff, right? So I would say 7 points in the 6 minutes when he's taking 6 shots is pretty good. Like he had good percentages against Batum, but he made it a problem for him for sure. To turn off, I think the end of game he went to, so supporting right there. Everything you're saying is like, no, the minutes are there because the matchup on defense is there, which is also why I took Miles McBride. Same concept. Like, Miles is the dude guarding Tyrese Maxey at this point. And honestly, like, I think someone pointed out on one of the announcers, Maxey looked like he could have played another 2 games of that. It's insane how much energy that dude is. Only one dude on Knicks is in Brunson's shooting the ball. He doesn't have time to. He's not as good of a defender anyway. So you get my point. It's the same concept, just to support what you're saying, with Batum being such a need of guarding Jalen Brunson, and God knows, like, Kyle Lowry ain't job. And I do see those two dudes having their minutes somewhat split. More than Campaign being the sub for Kyle Lowry, it's Nick Batum, because Lowry's still an off-ball, like, secondary point guard, more so as a point guard, and fill that role rather than having to be the primary ball handler. So I think that Batum will too. The only other thing I would add there is, like, look at where Nick Batum is shooting for corner field goal shots, like, all on the floor. So with the defense, that's the only get off against the Knicks kind of ease is corner shot that you brought up on Props Madness, which has, you know, been amazing to hit. So yeah, like, the shot chart for Batum is that he should keep taking about 5 to 6 threes, and if he does that with a 1.5 prop, 54. Wow, you need to ladder that. Like, that's a really good look. So I'm putting that on the bottom line for you. I've got you for the over 1.5 threes and the over 4.5 boards too, right?
Yep, and you can get 3 threes at 700 as well. Like, that's a crazy number. Yeah, it's like widely available on FanDuel right now.
What?
So, or was before I got on here. So
that's a 700. Holy crap. Oh my God, that's a wonderful bet. Really good. If y'all are on it, if you believe in that as well. We got DAF previews in here talking about Tobias Harris again. I'm assuming that's what he means by J. Cole. Third evidence, at least Avis. Fuck you, Tobias. Let's fucking go. Like, I think that's how we all feel if we're gonna bet on Tobias stuff. Let me pull up a couple other people that have been put up. Interesting. So for me, Mitchell Robinson's a stay away. Hartenstein is a stay away. Don't know much about that. Batum is a good look. Toby Harris, I was on last game for over 10.5 points. It's up to like 11.5, and I'm never going to bet for him to be really good 2 freaking games in a row. Like, I ain't gonna do it. So I'm off of that. But I will say, what does intrigue me about this game is potentially OG and whatever I'm supposed to do with Josh Hart. So starting with OG, the conversation around Anunoby is he was guarding Embiid as the primary defender for a little bit, for a few games in a row. And since that time, that was the first game we saw that, where he was getting help side defense and he was the primary defender. He got 14 boards in that game on like 20-something rebound chances, which shout out props.cash once again for getting rebound chances up in this piece. That's awesome. So even last game, he did still have 15 rebound chances, and that was still a heavily minuted game for what's his name, for Mitch Robb. So I don't think there's like correlation between Mitch Robb being in and Obi's chances potentially going down. What do you make of him? Because the only other thing I'll say too is, if you're looking at points, he's been taking shots, and not just threes. Yeah. Like, he's not just standing in the corner and shooting threes. He's being active on offense with the ball in his hands, and they've given it to him a couple of times and been like, go get a bucket. And he hit a bunch of mid-ranges. So do you think he's at like 13, 14 field goal attempts, or do we think he's at the normal 10 or 11 where he only gets the corner stuff?
I think it stays consistent. It's the same thing you were just saying. I personally, I'm on OG in this game, and I'm on Hart in this game for the kind of reason of, like, I think there's enough for both of them to go around. But, like, more specifically with a guy like OG, it's shot creation. It's like you're saying, even though he has been very efficient in the mid-range, and we can't necessarily account on that forever. Like, last game, he's like taking the ball down, attacking, like, they don't have anyone else that can do that. That's what you're missing with Julius Randle, is like creation, right? Like, McBride can give it to you in spurts for sure, but that's not like what you really want to depend on. And everyone else, like DiVincenzo, Hart, none of these guys are creating their own shot whatsoever. So the biggest thing kind of always holding OG back from being like Mikal Bridges kind of player is like, can we get more developed on the offensive side of the ball? And I think this playoffs is kind of showing like a culmination of the hard work on that he's been doing for the last 2 years. So for me, I like OG. I think he's going to be aggressive in the scoring department here. Because there's no other choice. I mean, if we're going super aggressive on Brunson, if you're making life as difficult for him as possible, which in my opinion is the only way you can advance right here, who's going to score the other 70 points in this game, right? Yeah. And I mean, a guy like OG, who's literally the secondary option, we don't expect him to kind of continue on this pace. Like, for me, I think it's pretty consistent.
So 14.5 is an okay number for you to take over on for OG?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the only thing, too, that sometimes bothers me about it, and I'm just bringing it up because it's as a learning example for everyone who might not be familiar with Betting Pros, which is an awesome tool for finding recent prop lines. It's the best one I've found for being accurate about what the players' closing prop line were. So for OG, I'm sure it's gone up. But, like, I'm not using this as a point to be like, well, now it's too much of a premium for his points. I'm more saying, like, this has gone up to 14.5, and it was last game too, to be fair. So, like, it's now probably going to be consistently there until he starts to, like, go well under that number. But the reason I do bring it up too is, like, this is also, like, indicative of, like, a bit of a change in the style of play and the coaching for the Knicks over these last, like, 3 games, especially on defense. And then for OG, it seems like on offense as well. So I'm not going to poo-poo that at all. Did you have the rebounds were plus money as early as, like, this morning or as late as this morning?
Yeah.
So at minus 140, it's gone because I think there's probably been money moving that, not even like public money, like probably sharp money at this point for props, which is rare. It's not like you can always find that. Like sharp money doesn't always move props, to be honest. I think it's a little bit more specific of situations than that. Whereas like a side or a total, like a sharp comes in on that, and that thing's moving. But I guess for the rebounds, it's gone. Like the value is gone. If you were going to take it at 5.5, I would have needed the like plus 105 or minus 102 that was available earlier this morning. So I'm off of the OG stuff for the rebounds at this point. He barely got over it with 15 rebound chances, because the last point I'll make about it is just because he's closer to the basket because he's guarding Joel doesn't mean he's more apt to get rebounds because he's guarding Joel, which means that Joel's going to have a very fine chance to just literally pluck it out of the air over OG and Anunoby. But I think I like that you're confident on the points, because I mean, as a Knicks fan, we need him to be aggressive like that if we're going to be on offense. To all the points you made about ball handling and like guys getting their own shot. But the Josh Hart stuff, can I ask you to talk about that? The one question we had about him specifically was PRA. Everybody always wants to know about rebounds. And my initial thought this morning was under on rebounds at 11.5 with Mitch Robin, everybody back. But you tell me what you think.
Yeah, no, there's no reason there's no way I could possibly play over on that. Like, I know how good Josh Hart is. I think for me, like, the natural line on him was like 9.5. Like, once we get over that in a playoff game, especially like you said, when both of our centers are healthy, we have Robinson, we have Hardenstein. Like, I have a very hard time seeing any kind of like guard, no matter how great of a rebounder, Russell Westbrook, right? The best of the best. It's still like a line that's like incredibly hard to get to. So for me, like, there's just never, this isn't going to be a fast game, by the way. Maybe if we're talking Bucks Pacers running in transition, getting speedy, but no, this is a slow game from two teams that are going to kind of establish their style of play, establish that pace. It's just 11.5 is just simply kind of like too high for me in the rebounds department. I'm more in the threes realm right now.
For J Hart.
Yep. I went with the threes. I took 1.5 at plus 115 and then 2.5 at 340. It's really the only thing I'd want to do. Just because the plus money on both of them. If you've noticed, I have a lot of plus money today. I think with all this uncertainty going on, I think that's where it's best to be. Because a guy like Hart, we saw it early, all those open shots. We saw some adjustments, but then last game, it was coming back again. We were blitzing Brunson a little bit more aggressively, and Hart was having more of those open opportunities. He didn't knock him down, but the attempts went up a little bit. And more importantly, even beyond what the stat sheet shows, you're seeing him sit out there open. Like, you're seeing, okay, there's them leaving Josh Hart wide open again. That's what I want to see. So is Josh Hart the best three-point shooter in the world? No. Is the other team daring him to shoot threes? Yes. So I want to be on the side of the coaching staff right here. Like, let Josh Hart beat you. And if he does, then you start making more of those in-game, adjustments. But I think definitely 2 at plus money is just a bit of a bad line if we're going to get, 4 to 6 attempts in this game.
I have to bring this up. First of all, I love everything you're saying. I didn't realize Josh Hart was still plus money for the 2 threes. I thought it was worse than that when I looked at it earlier. So I like it for plus money. I have to bring up that there might be a snitch in the stream right now because Batum line was locked at the plus 700 on FanDuel.
Wow.
I think Joe brought it up too, where he was like, that might have been a mistake. And now someone is answering to their boss as to why they had plus 700 for Miles Turner at 3 threes when his 1.5 prop was over that was like still plus like, 120 or something like that. It's like, That's a pretty big jump for 1-3 for Miles Turner. So you caught a stale line for sure, which was a really good look. Hopefully some people were able to get that in here a minute ago, which is what this stream is for, people helping people, because that was a fire look. When I saw it, I still couldn't believe it, even as I was looking at it. So it says they took Batum off too. So now I'm feeling like there really is a snitch in the chat. Whoever you are, it's probably this person who's spamming us right here with all these plays that we should go into their Discord for, is probably the snitch over here. Chetty Coronado, I see you in here, bro. Anything on Kelly Oubre? I know he's a stay away from me because I stole the money that I won in this last game over. Like everybody who had over for Kelly was just like, oh my God. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. As a Knicks fan, I hated going to overtime. That was trash. But like I also hit Brunson over points and laddered to 40 points as a result of that. And I hit the Kelly Oubre nonsense that I probably should have never bet. So yeah, I think I'm off Kelly Oubre. I don't know if you have anything for somebody like him, but I just don't see the consistency enough from him to feel like I know what I'm going to get from him, even if he plays 38 minutes.
Yeah, no, same here. I mean, I'm very glad I haven't been on the Oubre train at all. And I like what he's providing for the series, like that aggressive defense. I played his steal the first game at -220, and now it's -600 across the board. Oh, wow. So, like, it's not even viable as, like, a parlay piece anymore, right? Like, it's completely gone. So his, like, full court press, like, that kind of stuff was fun. That would be what I'd want to bet on. But on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, it's just, like, a weird mix of no aggression. He's kind of like he's out there. There's the minutes, but like I don't know. The old Kelly Oubre I knew was like willing to take a couple shots. Yeah. And I get maturity's good. You don't always want to be that guy, but like you shouldn't be passing up open threes. So I don't know. Oubre is a tough one for me.
Before we use the word mature, crashes purple Lamborghini after their last loss in Phil or whatever it was at the beginning of the series again. So that man needs stuff together, still tsunami pop. But yeah, I would agree. Anybody who has the purple Lamborghini has confidence soaring through the roof anyway. But I think some of that's gone. And when I don't see him like swagging and doing one of these joints after he like makes a bucket, like 12. By the way, I can't help but notice you said we. I didn't even realize you're a Sixers fan.
I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if I said that. My bad.
Okay, I thought you said we like yours.
I have a known beef with the city of Philadelphia. It's lost me tons of Twitter followers, but it's okay. I'm going to keep hating.
I respect yourself with that one. I'm trying to see real quick. I know we've been doing this for about an hour. We've got a lot of stuff that we covered. One away from Tobias. I bring him briefly. Like, great job scoring last game. He made his shots, but he still was Joel in the line. So like, not Toby Harris to not crawl back in hole was in the first 4 games, if anybody's thinking about that. And then the RA, I'd love to just go back to the points every time, and just if I'm going to hit somebody to hit 34 points, I'm going to I'm going to do the same shit with I did last year. I'm going to or 35, just to sprinkle a little bit on that. If somebody's going for that many points, they're going crazy. At the same time, he's shooting 30 times a game, 32 times in this set time. So there's no way I would take him under for his points. But the thing is, you're on him shooting 52%, or he's going to be, if he shoots below that, then you're toast, right? But you didn't have a bet on anything to do with points for Brunson, right?
No. A little too crazy for me personally. I mean, I couldn't hate on it at all. It's Jalen Brunson in the playoffs, but I like your rebounds and assists look a lot more, honestly. I think that's a better spot.
Came for with about Tyrese or Joel, right? And my first view is, do you think it is a Tyrese or Joel scenario, or just like, well, they can both get theirs, or is it like you can't take over both of them to get combined 57 points necessarily?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one. Like, man, the lack of aggression last game was brutal. You know what I mean? But there's no way that you can project that coming out and happening again, right? I mean, a guy like Embiid, who's so important to that team. So for me, like to go into that a little bit more, like I don't think it necessarily has to be an either or game, but like I'm not interested in playing them both. I think if you're prop betting, you're picking a side, right? And if I had to go either way, I think it's probably back to Embiid, even though it hurts after last game. I think there's going to be some adjustments made, a little bit more doubles thrown Maxi's way. I mean, with what he was providing, not only last game, but to this whole series and what he's done so far, it's like maybe we're shifting at a little 50-50 rather than like 80-20 to Embiid, right? And I think, any less double team Embiid takes is going to be a mid-range shot, right? He's going to put those up. We're going to get to the free throw line, right? I mean, we saw like a record low for him. Anytime he's under 10, I'm shocked for Embiid. So definitely think he's going to be aggressive getting back to the free throw line. I was talking to my guy Brian versus the books this morning. He had 7.5 first quarter points. I played 9.5 last game. So a whole bucket downgrade for a guy that's still going to play 11 minutes at the minimum in the first quarter. I think that's another good way to play it. That's probably my favorite way to play it personally.
Yeah, I'm terrified of playing Embiid for the full game. But now the more I think about it, the logic that I was first quarter point, you can't make the eye test. It's like if you look at Embiid first half versus second half, it's crazy how much he falls off a cliff the second half and does damage in the beginning, right? So that's part of it. And then the amount of minutes that he's playing, he like 2 of these last 3 he played less than the full 12. But I know the 8.9 minutes was because of foul trouble, right? He got 2 really quick. But then the 10.7 in this last game, the other reason would be it was the minutes and it's the ability to get it in at first, and then it's also Hartenstein being the defender to start the game. Like he is the starting center for the Knicks, in which case you're going to get him on Embiid, which is not as good of a matchup for the Knicks as Mitchell Robinson. So both of those things would be a reason to take him. Is it 9.5 now for the first quarter?
No, from what I see on Pickett right now, you can still even get 7.5 at -145 and -140. So, yeah, I luckily I got at -130 a little earlier, but still in that juicier range. It's an important number right there. So I play that still.
Yeah, if you're talking like 4 2s, and if he's gonna be taking the like 7 to 8 shots that he has pretty consistently, just trying to pull that up real quick for in the. Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of he's playing that amount of time, but 10 shots to get 8 points, 9 more free throw attempts as well, right? The 3 or so, and in these last 3, he's obviously dumbed it down a ton, but still like coming out pretty aggressive. This one back in Philly, but there is reason to believe that he's going to come out with some heat, to bring it early. So I think the Embiid first quarter bet is a way better play if you're going to play it. I'm staying away from his points. He just got he got locked up last game, which would be another reason to buy him at 30.5 points if you are, or at least the 7 in that quarter. I think is a great look. So I'm gonna put that on there too. But anything else from me, Rob? I'm gonna have to close it here. I know sometimes we go a little bit longer, but this game is about to start, and I want to throw some as well. But anything else from you?
No, not for me. I think that's all my props in this one.
Yeah, this on here with me. I'm going to post this. Anything too that you want to plug real quick? I know you've got Past the Prop that you're always on and all that stuff. I want to kind of let people be able to find you as well.
Yep, we got free player props Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Past the Prop. It's a YouTube, free show, kind of similar to this with my guy Justin. Would definitely love to get you on sometime there soon as well. It's not the most convenient. It's at 1 o'clock during the day, so it's a little harder for guests and stuff. But hey, if you're around, we'd definitely love to have you. And yeah, I mean, my account's all about free props, trying to get people the best information possible. Hopefully not only we win some money, but kind of like you're doing, everyone's getting a little smarter along the way, right? You're finding out how to get this information and how to win and I see it by the chat in here. It's very similar to my Discord, where it's a lot of people that you can tell they're not new to this. They're grinding through it. It's a lot of smart people that are just looking to make some money. And that's what I'm all about here. So yeah, appreciate the invite. Always love talking basketball pretty much anytime I can. So definitely it was a lot of fun today.
Appreciate you, dude. Yeah, I'll be getting into baseball too, by the way, here in May or so. I start really getting more into it. Still been following along, playing my fantasy teams and all that. But I'll definitely get in on my pitcher, my first. So we'll talk about. But yeah, definitely want to check him out. Twitter, it's Monotone Football. The football has 1 L if you're searching for it and can't find it or feel like you can't, just so you know. But yeah, we'll be back here. I'll be bringing a video tonight for everybody with looks at tomorrow's games. And then obviously we're back tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. on the stream. So appreciate you jumping in. We'll talk soon. And for everybody else, happy betting.